What is up, fight fans and grappling fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I'm joined by a man that has had a banner year in his athletic endeavors in 2020. In a matter of 7 bouts, a tournament win, and scoring the promotion's open weight belt, he has become the new face of Submission Underground. On December 20th, he returned to the SUG cage to face off with an Olympic gold medal winning judoka and MMA vet in Satoshi Ishii. And that man I speak of is the one and only Mason Fowler. Mr. Fowler, sir, thanks for the time before your next SUG championship defense.
Man, that was probably the best intro I've ever gotten for I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna hire you every day for when I walk into the gym. I want you to do that.
Awesome. I'm available. I can do holidays whenever you need it. I'm always there for you.
Oh, yeah. I might hire you for my wedding one day.
Fair enough. I got you. Now, so much to ask because you've had such a great year. So much has gone on. So the first thing, how important were those 2 wins over Craig Jones in terms of like your notoriety? Now the sport of grappling is coming on strong and stuff like that, getting a lot more coverage, giving a lot more interest. But I understand it's not baseball, it's not like pro soccer. You didn't gain 2 million followers overnight kind of thing, but it has changed things. Are more people looking to be your sponsor? Are you getting more calls on certain things? Are there more money-making offers coming than there was a year ago? And are you also kind of now in a position where you kind of have to sell yourself and make the most of this big spotlight that's really on you from this, what you've earned, this big position?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like more of the notoriety and more of the not fame, but people in the sport kind of giving you respect and thinking that you're legit. I feel like I got that more from, say, like winning like the IBJJF tournaments, like the Worlds or like the ADCC trials. Those tournaments I feel like had a little bit more prestige from the community as far as someone thinking that like this person's good. These super fights, like the Submission Underground super fights, the Fight to Win super fights, they're more it's kind of a one-off. It's weird because it's not a tournament, so you don't get the same title. Like when you go win a tournament, it's like there's 30 guys in the bracket and you were the best one.
Yeah.
So it's different. Like you said, since I had matches with Craig, there was a lot of people watching, and they're really exciting events. But I don't know necessarily if it's blew me up beating him in Submission Underground.
Interesting.
I had a lot of people hitting me up after our match at ADCC because we had a match actually before Submission Underground. Also. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of been the same.
So has it maybe drawn attention from maybe people that maybe weren't following grappling closely, like MMA fans and stuff like that? It hasn't maybe drawn sponsors from that industry thinking, oh man, I want to get my product slapped on Mason because he's got more TV time. Nothing like that.
No, it has helped me a little bit in negotiating with like the sponsors that I already had or potential sponsors I already had.
Right.
It's like, hey, like, this was our deal before, but now I'm on UFC Fight Pass. I'm the main event. So maybe we could do this. So it definitely has helped, especially being on UFC Fight Pass, being the main event. Now the next card is like having Donald Cerrone on the undercard.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it.
Yep.
Honestly, I think the next card is going to be the biggest card for my career because of all the famous guys on the undercard. And then also I feel personally that I have an opponent that I can really showcase my skills.
Okay.
Or like with Craig, he's so dangerous. You make one wrong move and you're going to end up in the hospital, right? So I was, playing a little bit more strategy, right? I didn't want to get my legs snapped in half. But with my upcoming opponent, I know he's tough. He's a judo Olympian and everything, but I think I'm going to be able to really showcase my skills. And also, this is going to be probably the most watched jiu-jitsu card ever because of all the big name MMA guys on it, right? So I think that this card coming up is going to be like one of the really big explosions for my career.
Interesting. Now, I wanted to. That's perfectly transition to moving on to this fight coming up with Satoshi. How much of a difference does it make when going up against someone much larger? Because Satoshi is likely to be at least 60 pounds heavier than you on bout night. How does that change things for you? Are you a guy, like you said, you want to showcase more things? Were you not able to showcase more of your athletic gifts against Craig and certain other guys that you can do in this one that you feel, will be a difference in that? Does it make the great body triangle you have maybe harder? Because I noticed against Vinny, it seemed like quite as easy to cinch in because he was a bigger guy than, say, Craig. Does it leave far less room for error and you have to be even more technically sound than other previous bouts because of that you can't maybe use some strength or something like that against him? And was the bout with Vinny that I just mentioned, Vinny Magalish, helpful in being that much better prepared for the size disadvantages because he was freaking massive in that fight? Or have you been going against big guys for a long time and this is nothing new?
Yeah, so when I was like purple belt and then even at brown belt, I've competed a lot at ultra heavy in the points tournaments, which is the highest weight class, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of right on the edge between that weight class and the one below, and then I can actually cut to the one below that, right?
Okay.
But I choose to compete in the heavier one because my style, I feel like I do a lot better against bigger guys.
All right.
So I actually won like no gi worlds at ultra heavy and the gi worlds at ultra heavy. I've beat a lot of really tough heavy dudes before, and the reason why is just because I feel like I'm big enough where I cannot get smashed by them, right? But then also I have a huge speed advantage and a huge advantage in cardio too. I have pretty good cardio for a big guy, and I move pretty well for a big guy. So I would actually prefer, like, if you were to offer me a match against a guy like my Professor Kyle, who's little but really technical, or a match with like a big guy, I'll choose the big guy every time. I'll prefer to not go against the smaller guy because then if you lose to the smaller guy, it looks worse too. It's like, dang, he's like 50 pounds lighter and he tapped you. So, I don't mind that. And then, the match with Vinny, I feel like was just a good solid feather in my cap. Again, I felt like I didn't really get to showcase my skills. We just kind of stayed on the feet and hand fought the whole time. But in Submission Underground, it's tough because there's no points, right? So. Right. If you get a guy that's staying on the feet and you're staying on the feet, it's kind of hard to have the motivation to take a shot, right? Because when you're taking a shot, you're exposing your neck, you're exposing your arms, and then you're not going to get rewarded with any points, right? So you have to play within those 5 minutes. You have to play really, really smart when you're going against guys like ADCC champs, So. Yeah, I felt like I played smart and I played a good strategy, and obviously it worked out because I got the win, right? It definitely was a good experience, and then also it was good to go against someone that was attacking the arm in the overtimes because everyone previously that I had win against had chosen the back, so I got some good experience defending the arm also.
I'm glad you brought up the rule set and the overtime too, because I was going to ask, and now I kind of got the answer in terms of all of your fights in Submission Underground, from what I remember, have all gone to overtime, and it seems like when it hits overtime, despite it being a tough rule set, you're put in automatically into tough positions, it almost seems to favor you, and you do so well under those circumstances. I was going to ask, do you try to be careful and, not overextend, not put yourself in dangerous situations? Because, when I get to the overtime, that's where I really shine. Is there some strategy in that? Let's be careful with these high-end guys, because in the overtime, I know what I'm doing now. I'm great there.
Yeah, so it's difficult. The overtime pretty much gives anyone a chance to beat anyone else, right?
Yeah.
You can bring in some purple belt from wherever who's really, really good at the overtimes.
Yeah.
And give him a game plan, and he might be able to beat me, right? Anyone has a chance to win. And I think that's what makes Submission Underground very unique, is that you really don't know what's going to happen, right? I do feel like I'm really good at the overtimes, which is weird because before I did the tournament, I've never competed under the rule set.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of tournaments that have
Yeah.
these EBI overtimes,
Yeah.
right? All the EBIs.
Mm-hmm.
And guys like Craig's done the EBIs previously. Cody Steele was in the tournament. He did the combat jiu-jitsu. He won the combat jiu-jitsu and same thing, he won it with all the overtimes. So it was my first time doing it, and I did really, really well, right?
Yeah.
I think because when you're starting on the back of the arm, it's just a fight. It's not, there's no waiting. You literally are just like fighting for your life.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the things that I'm the best at, right? In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the 5 minutes. We're both already like a little tired, right? From grappling, trying to do whatever for the 5 minutes. And then we're starting in these tough positions. It's just like, who's going to outgrind who? And I feel like that's what I don't feel like I'm necessarily the best in the world at those positions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm the best at, when we're both tired, like you go on my back, I'm going to go on your back, and we're going to see who outgrinds who.
Fair enough. Now, would you say, because without doubt, you can't take away an Olympic gold medal. That still means something around the world. But based on pure credentials in the realm of submission grappling, on paper, would you say, to start, was Vinny more of a dangerous test, especially because they're larger guys and stuff like that? On paper, was he more of a dangerous test in your mind than Satoshi is? Or is Satoshi, because of that judoka, a little different than a lot of guys you may encounter, at least recently? It's still very dangerous, just in a different kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, hey, we have Satoshi Ishii or Vinny Mangalech, who do you want? And we're gonna pay you the same no matter what. I'm gonna choose Satoshi, of course, because Vinny's an ADCC champ, and just a lot more experience. That doesn't mean that Satoshi doesn't have a chance to win. That doesn't mean that I don't think he's tough. It just means that Vinny has a much better track record in the world of submission grappling. Satoshi still is has an amazing athletic career. I mean, dude, he fought Fedor.
Yeah.
He's got a huge list of accomplishments. But yeah, in the jiu-jitsu world, we haven't seen him be successful at a high level yet. But I don't think he's competed in jiu-jitsu for maybe a year or two. I know he did the Nogi Worlds 2018, right? So who knows? He might have just got his black belt, jumped into Nogi Worlds, had a bad performance, and then he might have just been grinding for the past 2 years. It's not like we just saw him lose last month and he looked horrible, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely am not taking him lightly. I actually feel like it's more motivation, right? Because I don't, like, when you lose to Craig, it's like, I lost to Craig Jones. All right. If you lose to Vinny, it's like, I lost to Vinny. He's ADCC champ.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you lost to someone that doesn't even have any big wins in jiu-jitsu. That's scarier to me, because then it'll discredit everything I've done this far, right?
Do you feel, and that's a great way you explain it, then on that sense, maybe in grappling circles on some levels, beating him doesn't weigh the same as beating Craig and beating Vinny, but for your career, for marketing yourself, for your resume, does the fact that he has an Olympic gold medalist and possibly submitting an Olympic gold medalist, does that weigh more, though, in a mainstream, more broader general sense, when you're out there in the future for whatever things you want to move into? You say, I beat a gold medalist and sub them. Does it mean more in that way?
Man, that's a good question. If we're talking to someone that doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, maybe, because you can say, I beat an Olympic gold medalist, right? If you're talking to anyone that knows anything about jiu-jitsu, saying that you beat an Olympic gold medalist in judo doesn't hold the same weight as saying that you beat an ADCC gold medalist, right? Because ADCC is considered the Olympics of jiu-jitsu. But to the everyday person, hearing that Olympic gold medal just kind of has that little ring to it, right? So, that's a great question. And it is still, again, it's going to be a great feather in my cap. I feel that Chael is doing the same thing with me now that he did with Craig. He was bringing in big names from different avenues. He brought in like Rumble Johnson. He brought in Vinny.
Gilbert Burns.
Gilbert Burns, yeah, he Wagner Rocha.
Yep.
He was bringing in guys all with different storylines. Like Wagner had a win over him like years ago,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he was bringing in guys with all these different storylines, and kind of building Craig's star. So I feel that now I'm getting a little bit of the same treatment. I feel like they wanted to make sure I could rematch Craig, make sure it was legit, right? They wanted to make sure that they're like, all right, let's give Vinny a chance. Vinny's like one of the best guys that's ever competed in SUG. And then now I feel like it's like, okay, he passed those tests. Let's, start building his star a little bit. So I feel like, man, I'm just in a great place right now, right?
Yeah.
I have Chael throwing me all these big tests. I have a big stage. Training's going good, so I feel really good with everything that's going on with SUG.
Speaking of big tests, trying to do the Craig Jones win and what one man that could be viewed as better than maybe Craig is his teammate in Gordon Ryan. If you beat Ishii, that big size advantage whole thing that can be easily marketed, gold medalist, like I said, combined with having beat Craig twice, beat Vinny, would you like to angle for a super fight with Gordon? Which is a matchup that could certainly, especially in Chael Sonnen's ability to market, be viewed as a battle of maybe the two best submission grapplers on the planet. Would you like to angle for something like that maybe in 2021?
Yeah, of course. That's like the big money fight, right? That's like the Conor McGregor.
Yes, jiu-jitsu. Indeed. Yep.
So just like a little bit of like insight for the average person. Gordon, he usually does his matches with like flow grappling, right? And then right now I'm doing my matches with Submission Underground, which is on UFC Fight Pass.
Right.
So it's almost like I'm in Bellator and he's in the UFC, or vice versa.
Okay.
That's kind of what's going on, which neither one of us are under contract, right? But when he's doing the matches on flow grappling, he's doing like sub only, no time limit. That's like the rule set that they've been doing, right? Which is a very unique rule set. Normally in jiu-jitsu, like at any of the tournaments, none of them do that, right? That's a unique rule set. Yeah. But it's like that's their own thing. Submission Underground has like the 5-minute sub only, and then the overtimes. No jiu-jitsu tournaments do that either. That's like a super unique rule set. So he's over here with, he's like kind of winning over here in this. I'm winning over here in this.
Yeah.
From what I heard, he didn't want to do the 5-minute regulation with OT, which is understandable, right? Because it's a really niche rule set, and he would be risking, possibly losing to me under this niche rule set. And, and then I've also have gotten offered to do the no time limit format with him, right? And then I also was offered, I think it was like a 30-minute match, and then with the overtimes at the end with Gordon. The money that we were offered to do that was lower than what Submission Underground's paying me.
Interesting.
To do the matches with whoever's. Yeah. Vinny, Satoshi. They pay me a flat rate no matter who it is.
Yeah.
So obviously everyone keeps asking me like, why aren't you doing the match with Gordon Ryan? Da, 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 da. It's just if you're going to compete against the best guy in the sport, it would make sense that you would be getting paid more than competing with guys that,
the juice has got to be worth the squeeze.
So that's like a little insight. I've never like talked about that in an interview or anything, just because I don't like to talk about the backdoor dealings or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like,
it has to be known. Yeah.
We're both pretty much like, I mean, I guess you could say, like you said, I'm like kind of the face of SUG right now, right? He's kind of like the face of, it's called Who's Number One. That's like Flow Grappling's thing. And so it's kind of, we're both over here doing our own thing. And I know eventually the match is going to come. That is always in the back of my head. Like on the days I don't want to get up and go to the gym, I'm not thinking like, oh, I have this match with like Satoshi. It's like, no, I got work to do. I'm going to have Gordon eventually. Right. So that's still in the back of my head. It's going to depend on what rule set and and what the pay is, because right now I'm being told that this is my value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Testing the market. This is my market value. So it's like, okay, it's got to be, I mean, either SUG is going to tell me your next match. If SUG were to tell me your next match is Gordon, then I would be like, all right, Chael, let's do it. You know, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
If someone else wants the match, they're going to have to at least pay better than SUG, right?
Yeah.
And Chael's done so much for me, and I've been able to make so much money on SUG that it's like, whatever they tell me to do, I'm doing. I'm not going to fight. If Chael says, hey, do you want Gordon? It's all right, Uncle Chael, let's do it. Make it happen. When's the date?
Now, speaking of that idea, then going to, let's say, because you guys are like, it's like DC versus Marvel, and it's like two different universes right now at this point that can't maybe happen. What are some of the possible dream matches that you would like in SUG, especially if it comes to MMA guys that Chael always does bring in? Like, what are some of the options in terms of, you know, the ones that are maybe ones you really hope for that aren't realistic, and give me some of the ones that you think are realistic, maybe you and Chael have talked about, and it could be something possible in the future.
The last time he asked me, who do you want? Who do you want? And I said, can you get John Jones? And I remember someone saying like, oh, like he just wants to get paid too much. He wants too much money, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, John Jones is probably one of the biggest because he did Submission Underground before. That's why the name like came to mind. I mean, unrealistically, like Brock Lesnar.
All right. I thought you could say like Khabib. I like that one.
Yeah. No, I know Khabib, and because I'm here in San Jose also, and I'm really good friends with some of the guys from AKA that are good friends with him, so I would like never call him out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, whoever, honestly, anyone. They always ask me like, who do you want next? And it's like, I know you guys are on UFC Fight Pass. I'm trying to get like the most exposure possible. So like if you guys can get like a UFC champion or someone like in the top 5, that would be sick.
Fair enough.
So whoever.
Do you, and I didn't realize until researching a little bit about you and stuff like that, that you did have some MMA fights in the past. You had, the most recent was a booking in 2016, but that one fell through. Is there any thought to maybe return to MMA? Is that at all an idea? Especially now because your name has grown so far, your value's far higher. You know, if PFL came calling and said, hey, you can get in this tournament, $1 million at the end if you get away 3, would that be something that interests you? Or you are, like you said, you're making some really good money with SUG. You're doing so well in this. Don't have to get punched in the face. You're just gonna ride this out until the wheels come off.
That's more the avenue I'm leaning towards. Man, if I was asked to do the $1 million tournament, I would have to see who else was in the tournament, and then that. I mean, I've never thought about that one. That would definitely be a possibility. Yeah, it sucks because when I was fighting, I had a really good stand-up too. It's not like I wasn't, when I was doing MMA, I wasn't like just a jiu-jitsu guy. I trained everything evenly.
Okay.
So now obviously my grappling has gotten way better, but I feel like after 6 months or a year of doing stand-up, I can kind of be right where I was. But yeah, I mean, everything's going good right now with jiu-jitsu and Submission Underground. The money's really, really good, better than I ever made doing MMA. And I mean, my goal is to open a gym, open an academy. I think after the jiu-jitsu run is done, I think it's time for me to open an academy and start making some money, because it's almost been 10 years now that I've been an athlete. I've been an athlete for a little over 10 years, but a combat athlete, right? Doing MMA and then jiu-jitsu. And it's rough on your body, dude. It's rough on your mind. Always training for combat, you know, you're always thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. So I've gotten to a good point where I'm really I'm responsible with my training, my diet. My mind is clear. I feel like I'm peaking right now. But with that being said, my body feels horrible in the morning, and I'm ready to, you know, in a couple of years, make that transition to the next step of opening a gym and making real money starting businesses, because the money right now is nice, but eventually it's like, okay, we want to make some real money. You got to like start your businesses and start grinding that way. So a couple more years of jiu-jitsu, I think, and then it'll be time to open a gym. We'll see. I mean, you never know, right? If someone starts throwing out some crazy numbers, I'll for sure fight again if the money's right.